We will go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to April's Level Up webinar. We're going to be diving into acknowledgments and receipts and donor communication as it relates to Razor's Edge NXT. We are going to start off with introductions. We are so happy to have our friends from RedArc here today. So we will start with Stu and Henrietta. Please introduce yourself in RedArc to us.
Stu, you go ahead.
No, ladies first.
Ladies first. Okay. Hi, I'm Henrietta, co-founder of RedArc, and here with Stu, obviously. We build apps that extend Razor's Edge NXT, and one of the ones you probably know the most about is Letterbox. Over to Stu.
Thanks, Henry. Yes, I'm Stu, and everything else that Henry just said, but it is very exciting to be doing this in relatively the same time zone as you guys. We normally do this in the middle of the night from Australia, so we are currently in Portland, Oregon, and very happy to be over here. Looking forward to chatting with you all.
Absolutely.
Christine, go ahead.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm Christine Robertson. I'm consulting manager here at NPact. I'm coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina. I saw at least one other North Carolinian here, so yay, way to represent. I work with our Razor's Edge consulting primarily. Started in Razor's Edge 20 years ago this year and have done a lot with different donor CRMs and working specifically in this industry. I've been a consultant for the last 11 years now. So really excited to join our friends, Stu and Henrietta, to have a conversation, not just about their tool, but also about all the options in Razor's Edge. And I know there's a lot of different insights from the four of us, and I hope we can help you make the most of your acknowledgments. Kevin?
Cool. Thank you all. My name is Kevin Wood. I'm the Director of Sales here at NPact. Just started my fourth year a little while ago. Have been a Razor's Edge consultant for just about all my time here at NPact. Before joining, I worked for 15 years in the nonprofit world here in Cincinnati. Was at a university, was at a hospital foundation, and then for 10 years at a high school, all primarily as a Razor's Edge database manager. So again, we're very, very glad that you're all able to join us today. A little bit of housekeeping. We are recording the session. We will send out the recording, the slide deck, all of RedArc's contact information, all of our contact information later today or tomorrow. So I know a lot of folks registered but aren't able to join, but we will be sending that recording out to everyone. We also have the chat and Q&A feature available for you all. For whatever reason, people have some limited access to being able to chat in a Teams webinar. So if you can't chat, feel free to drop any comments, questions in the Q&A section as well. We'll be monitoring both of them as during our time together today. Next up, here's our agenda for today. We always like to start off with a couple poll questions for you all. And then we're going to dive right into kind of some best practices for receipts and acknowledgments. We'll talk about some tools that are available for use, both within the system and kind of outside the system. We're going to get a demo of Letterbox, which we're really excited about. And then we'll kind of dive into the questions that you all supplied during registration. We are a Blackbaud channel partner. What that means is we don't have any insider information as to anything that Blackbaud releases with Razor's Edge. We get the information at the same time you all do. A couple places that we encourage you all to look about, especially in Razor's Edge with functionality moving from database view to web view. When you log into Razor's Edge NXT from the web view, on your home screen, there's that What's New section. They update that weekly, and so keep an eye on that. Blackbaud will talk about functionality stuff that's available and things that are moving over. Also, we want to highlight the product update briefings. The one for Razor's Edge, I think, is in the first week of May. I will include that link to register in the slide deck so you can have access to. There's Razor's Edge, Financial Edge, payments, all the different other Blackbaud products that you may use. Cool. So we're going to start off with some poll questions. How long have you used Razor's Edge NXT? Should be popping up on your screen here in just a second. There we go. And we would love for you to answer. And you should see the results as soon as you answer the poll question. Awesome. And like every month, we seem to get like a kind of an even spread across all the choices. And I do always like to point out the people that have been using Razor's Edge for 10 plus years. It's always good to try to learn and always kind of honing your craft. I've been using it for almost 20 years, and there's still things that I learn just about every time I use it. So thank you for that one. Next question. How do you currently, man, oh, nice. 24 years. Next, how do you currently manage your acknowledgments and receipts in Razor's Edge? And it's okay if you say don't even want to talk about it. That's why you're here today, to learn something new, hopefully take something away for you to streamline that process a little bit. Yeah, and if you're using something else, a different tool, please let us know in the chat or Q&A what you're doing. Love to hear about it. Okay, cool. Appreciate those responses. We have a lot of people that are still doing the tried and true export into a CSV and doing a word merge. Cool. We're going to jump right into some best practices. So Christine, you want to go?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, we have done our research for tax regulations and things like that, and we are speaking from that place of research. But I want to do our due diligence and just say we are not your tax experts, and you should always trust, listen to what we have to say, but verify it. So we've included in these slides that you'll be getting links that we found from Canadian government about receipting, as well as the US government about receipting. So take advantage of those links, do your own research. I don't ever want to be put in that position of authority when I do not deserve it. And if you're in any other country, sorry, we did not go on and link all of those, but the same thing, I would always make sure you go back and look at that. One of the things with that's just so important, that, and we'll get to that in a minute with our next slide too, is just making sure you include what you need to include, but not including things that you maybe don't need to include. I think we've all seen that with letters. I know I see people wanting to make sure they have a check number. It's not legally required. So do you really need to have that in your letter? I think timeline for sending is a great best practice conversation for us to have. I think ideally, the sooner you get that letter in the donor's hands, the better. And I think we can talk about how to speed that up and how to make that happen. But being grateful, I know Henrietta, when we were talking about this the other day, you had such a great point about that gratitude and that relationship, and finding that in your process. So I kind of want to punt that to you a little bit and get your thoughts on that timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. Now?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, great. Okay. I just think, if you think about if you've got kids and they get a birthday present, you always want them to say thank you right away, right? It makes you feel valued because you've given them a gift. And I think the same works for donors. They give to your ministry or to your not-for-profit, and you want to thank them. You want to say thank you right away, because it really helps that supporter engagement, really helps them understand that you value what they've given to, and also mentioning what they've given to and the impact it's had. So maybe they've donated to provide a lunchbox or something for a child in need, and you said you've just donated enough for us to give 5 lunchboxes. So doing that kind of stuff, it just really helps people feel engaged with your organization and appreciated if you do it quickly.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think we all know that timeline is so important, and then we get stuck in the weeds because the tools are hard or we don't know where to go. And I think that's a piece I want to acknowledge, that space in this conversation of, I think most of you know that this is so important. It's good to always remind ourselves of that and remember that, as well as building out that practice. Looking at our new donors, I think that need to see how quickly you can communicate with them and build that relationship is so critical for next steps forward. And I know that's a piece that definitely wanted to highlight. A big one that we talked a lot about the other day was working with your donor advised funds. And then we get into even further with our QCD and our IRA, and some of those get into definitely further deep in the weeds. But all those ways that people are giving to you that aren't coming straight out of their checkbook or their credit card, and looking at how are we going to acknowledge them without receiving them when a receipt isn't necessary. And that was one of the main points we wanted to hit on with this. I think donor advised funds have just grown exponentially in the last, I would even say 5 years. And the need to make sure that we are communicating with someone who gives through their donor advised funds while not receiving them is huge. I know that gets into the debate in Razor's Edge of who gets the hard credit and who gets the soft credit. And for the purposes of today's conversation, I don't care which one you do, but what I care about is that you're correct in your receiving and your acknowledgement. And the reason I'm hammering on this is if I have a donor advised fund with my local community foundation, I've written a nice $1 million check. Please don't contact them and tell them I'm doing this, because that check will bounce higher than a basketball. But I put my $1 million in my local community foundation. They're going to give me my official tax receipt today for that $1 million. I may spend the next 5 years giving that money through them, making recommendations for them to support all my favorite charities. So you guys can keep an eye out for those donor advised funds coming your way when I get my $1 million. You cannot give me a tax receipt for that money. I've already gotten that from my community foundation. However, you absolutely should give me a thank you letter and an acknowledgement. And I think that becomes problematic sometimes in Razor's Edge, depending on how you pull those letters and how you include those soft credits and exclude those soft credits and what language you use. And so that's where, again, we'll go back to make sure you look at those documentations, make sure you see what is a receipt in the US and in Canada and wherever you are, make sure you get those right. Events are another big thing that we wanted to highlight, because that value of benefits received cannot be included in their receipt amount. And I know, Stu, we were talking about this with how you account for that in Letterbox and what they can pull out.
As in,
with that receipt, yeah, and having a receipt amount that's different than the gift amount.
oh yes, sorry. Sorry, I was reading the comments.
Sorry, I know there's a lot going on.
I was like, oh, these are really good. Yes, receipt amounts. So so coming out of the API of Blackboard is the receipt amount and the full amount, so the gift amount, and you can use those to indicate the difference between any services, or like if there's a dinner involved with the event or something like that. So you can use those two amounts together, and then you can make it very clear, particularly if it's a receipt, how much is tax deductible. It all comes down to being tax deductible, doesn't it? That's the
It does. And getting that receipt amount correct. I've seen a lot of organizations that just copy the gift amount and don't actually take the time to make the receipt amount different. So if that's something you're not doing, definitely encourage you to start doing that and use that receipt amount as a way to make these tools work for you. The last thing that we wanted to mention in this slide is, I know we've covered a lot here, with year-end gifts, make sure you're being very careful with what is the check date, what is the gift date, what is the post date. I will not speak to any other country, but in the US, if I send you a check and my envelope is postmarked for December 31st, I get to count that on that year's taxes. Your finance department is probably not going to cash my check until January. And I know this is an age-old debate between finance and development. I say let the IRS be your guide. But if I can claim it on my taxes, make sure my taxes and my letter and all of that lines up. So just things to keep in mind. I know some of you have been doing this for 24 years and you've heard this a million times, and some of you, this is new information. So I want to make sure we cover all those bases and throw that out there and make sure we're all at least starting from the same place of these kinds of best practices. Let's go on to our next slide, please.
I'll just add, there's a reason that you have a gift date and a post date. They can be two different dates. And that example is the reason why we do that.
It's exactly right. So this is a separate slide, probably partly because it plays into a little bit of what we already talked about with talking about some of the non-cash gifts. Again, go back to the IRS documentation, but legally, when we have a non-cash gift, what you are required to tell the donor is the day they made the gift and what they gave. For the first two, for in-kind and stock. Pledges are a slightly separate thing here. But if I make a stock gift, your thank you letter should tell me, thank you for your gift of 27 shares of Walgreens stock on April 23rd. That's the day I transferred it. That's what I transferred. Valuation is a totally different thing. But a lot of times we see people send a thank you letter that says, thank you for your gift of $27,000. I didn't give you $27,000. I gave you 27 shares of Walgreens stock. So make sure you're in line with those things. Make sure you're tracking it in your database so that you have the fields and that you're using them correctly. And then I tacked pledges on there as a separate piece because we don't send a tax receipt for a pledge. They cannot count that on their taxes. They just said they were giving you money. They may not actually do it. So kind of wanted to make sure we have all of those pieces in line as ways to make sure that we're putting our data in Razor's Edge correctly so that we can get it back out. Stu, Henrietta, anything you guys would add, tips and tricks you've seen for how people can use those fields to make this work?
Well, I do just want to say, which is slightly off topic, how much I love these kind of catch-ups. So what we do, we build software, which basically you build tools, you build like, hammers and saws and stuff. And then when I listen to Christine and then see all your comments in the chat, I'm like, oh, this is how it actually works.
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that you're having us on this chat because we
Good.
learn so much. Because what I mean, it's like we build tools now, delving right into the detail of how you're going to use them, and that we can go away and we can be like, oh, okay, now I understand. I mean, we understood the basic principle, but seeing the level of detail in the chat is fantastic. So thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
We're going to learn probably more than you got. But it's going to be amazing.
Love it.
Thank you.
So keep chatting. You guys are influencing the future of Letterbox.
Yeah,
so there you go. Keep it up. Henrietta, anything else you'd add for any of these best practices? Any thoughts and observations?
Kim just put a comment on the chat about how she mails personalized thank you cards to large donors. And I think that's a huge area, major donors, your high value supporters, making sure that you treat them with that little extra love. And that could be, sending them a birthday card. It could be congratulating them on an achievement of some kind or whatever that is, but using some kind of way to not only thank them for their giving, but to thank them for who they are, because they're really valuable to your organization. Yeah.
Love that. Let's go ahead and go to our next slide, Kevin.
We're on to rapid fire questions.
All right, let's do it. All right, Stu, I think this one's for you. Does Letterbox create Canadian tax receipt numbers?
The simple answer is yes. The slightly longer answer is that we worked with a good number of Canadian organizations. I was shocked at the number of dot points of compliance that one needs to adhere to in Canada in terms of tax receipts. So we are reliably informed by those organizations. And not only do we create Canadian tax numbers, but we meet with the other requirements of receipting in Canada.
Great. How often do you update templates / content of your letter? I know we talked about this. My answer was really unhelpfully vague, and it's as often as you need to. I think it really depends on your audience, and I think it really depends on what's in your letter and how often you. I know that how often really sounds so vague, and I hate that part of that answer, but I worked for a radio station, and we had monthly donors, and we changed the first paragraph every month because we wanted it to sound different. I say that but I am not suggesting you do that, because I think that can be very excessive. I see some people saying every year, 4 times a year. I think that's all good. I also think that if you're doing letters that are event specific, of course you're going to keep, what event are we talking about now? Or, if it's for a capital campaign, how much progress have you made in your campaign? So I think that's really it's hard to say without knowing how many letters you have, what's changing at your organization, what we're communicating. I love you guys popping in your answers. This is great. I hope you all are reading each other's comments, because I think each person's individual experience is going to be different, but we can definitely all learn from each other.
I think for this one in particular, especially if I'm assuming a lot of us are database managers, a lot of times when we're talking about language on an acknowledgement letter, that is out of our control. So we're relying on our VP of advancement, our chief development officer, or someone else, or marketing maybe, to craft those messages. And so I think this is a good example of an opportunity for us really standing up for what we think is right in terms of the whole stewardship process. Because if you have a monthly donor and you receipt that gift or acknowledge that gift every month, and they're receiving the same letter, after about 2 months, they're just going to stop reading it. So it really is an opportunity to push and say, hey, we need to be sending them something different besides what we sent them last month.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very good.
Can I ask a question?
Of course you can. This is a conversation.
It seems we have this fantastic group of people here. In the taking aside for the moment the practicalities of actually doing it, what would it be helpful to send individual letters to your thank you letters to your supporters versus sending templates that you change a few times a year? In the real world, and I'm definitely, we have the real world right here in the chat. Would that actually be helpful? Because I know there's different ways of doing it, and it is possible to do it. But I'm wondering whether it would actually help, or whether you would just use templates anyway. Anyone got any thoughts on that? They can stick in the chat, or
yeah.
Are you asking about AI acknowledgments, Stu?
I was very carefully asking a broader question around writing individualized.
Right. How individualized? No, I think that's a great question. I hope you all can pop your thoughts. And even if you aren't able to do it right now, again, you've got a developer here, so you might as well feed some new product ideas to him. Our third question here, when to send digital receipts versus direct mail. Henrietta, I wanted to kind of punt that back to you, because I know you had some really great ideas when we were talking. I'd like everyone else to hear them.
Great. Yeah, I think digital receipts are fantastic. They obviously are very timely, particularly if you can, I'm here because of Letterbox, but you can do things like schedule letters or auto send letters. So you can just, if somebody is giving maybe a smaller amount and you send a standard receipt, you can get that out really fast, schedule it, it's done. And I think that's really important. Direct mail, I think, is also extremely valuable, particularly for those higher value donors, as we talked about earlier. But I think they would also appreciate that digital receipt because it's fast and it's immediate. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I know some people have like a threshold, where they, if you make an online gift, you get an email. Those differences are going to be unique to your organization sometimes, but it's certainly worth thinking it through and making a determination as an organization.
Yeah.
I know we have the next question about gift amount and receipt amount, but we already kind of touched on that one. So I think let's go ahead and skip that one for right now, because I want to make sure we have plenty of time for our letterbox demo at the end.
Could I just add one quick thing to that last comment? With the digital receipts through Letterbox, there's also an option to add a comment, an individual comment to each receipt. So even if you are feeling like it's a bit repetitive or whatever, you could just pop on to that letter and just add a little comment that is unique and individual to that supporter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think that's all great feedback. All right, let's go ahead. So we do want to show you some of the tools that are already in Razor's Edge. And I think the last one probably goes without showing, because it sounds like many of you are already doing that. Export an Excel file out, doing a mail merge in Word, marking your gifts acknowledged, I hope, on the back end after you're done. But we do want to showcase a few of the things Blackbaud has built into the web view of Razor's Edge NXT. So Kevin, take it away.
Yeah. So yeah, if and I don't know if the left side navigation, I think it's available for everyone now. But if not, I mean, you still may see it across the top. But just wanted to point out, they kind of reorganized the different options to getting to where you need to go. So on the left-hand side under gifts is where you're going to find your receipts. And I'm not going to go through the process. It's fairly self-explanatory on how to create them. I do want to point out, I use this all the time, is that wherever you are within WebView and Razor's Edge NXT, you can hit the little question mark up here, and it's kind of a smart help section. So it'll show you help based on what section of Razor's Edge you're in. So if you need help kind of getting your way through gift receipting, you hit that little question mark and that'll fly out. So there's receipts, and acknowledgments and giving statements are all kind of on top of each other. Yeah, I think is that all we wanted to show, Christine? Was there anything else you wanted me to?
I think so. One thing I want to mention, I have one of my current clients is actually using the receipts functionality to send out regular thank you emails, because she felt like she could actually filter those a bit more, customize the email a bit more, and send those out the way that she wanted to. It does mark them as receipted and not acknowledged. So as long as you can make that work in your processes, I think it's worth thinking through if that tool would actually help you in ways other than what it was mentioned. Oh, and Henrietta, we did have a question in the chat that was about your individual notes, asking if those notes were only text or if you could upload a JPEG of a handwritten note into that.
Yes, sorry, I was trying to reply, but it wasn't letting me do it.
Okay, sorry.
All good. Yes, you can use with the template editor in Letterbox, you can add images. So yes.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
Great.
And Christine,
Right,
Christine just she just said the word. I wanted to mention it before. You talked about processes. I think I say this once a month, but especially for receipts and acknowledgments, having a documented process and procedure for all the different scenarios that we've talked about today. So portfolio donors or major donors or first-time donors or out-of-town donors, gifts over a certain amount, under a certain amount, email, snail mail, whatever. Have that process written down, get buy-in from everyone on the team, so that everyone is understanding when this specific kind of gift comes in, this is the specific kind of acknowledgement or receipt that's going to go out. Having that documented, review that once a year when you review your acknowledgement letters, is really helpful. So something doesn't kind of fall through the cracks. You have that procedure to fall back on.
Definitely. So I think we've got the next thing we wanted to focus on. And again, these are hyperlinks for you to take a look at. These are some of the third-party tools that work with Razor's Edge NXT that can help you generate your acknowledgments and your receipts. Obviously, we're going to focus more today on Letterbox because our friends from Letterbox are with us. Did want to mention there are some other options out there available too. So Receipter Pro is one that you may see a lot in the marketplace. We've got a link here for that tool. So if you want to do your research, it'll come to you when you get the slides and the recording. The other thing, we would be remiss if we didn't mention Power Automate. There are a lot of people who have been talking about this. Blackbud does have a very basic flow that if you have Power Automate and you connect it with Razor's Edge, you can download that flow and you can have some simple letters coming in. There's some pros and some cons to that. And I don't say that to say don't do it. I just say that to say with everything, there's pros and there's cons. I know Kevin and I have made great use of Letterbox, free version, paid version, with a wide range of clients. And that was a big part of why we wanted Stu and Henrietta to join us today to talk about their tool and just to talk about thank yous in general. So without any further ado, Stu, I'd love for you to screen share, and I'd like for you to walk us through Letterbox and give people an idea of how maybe they could use that for acknowledgements as well.
Absolutely. While I'm sharing my screen, Jennifer, you definitely want to sort out your SPF, or Alex.
Yeah, Alex just put the KB article in there about how to get the DKIM and DMARC and all that updated.
Yeah, so that's built into Letterbox. If you don't do it, your emails don't get delivered. If you do it, they do get delivered. It's really that simple, and it's super easy to do, depending on your tool. But it's super easy, and you definitely want to do it. All right. So This is going to be the 5-minute demo, as promised, of Letterboxd, as in promised that it's going to be 5 minutes, which would have been a lot easier in 2022. So I tried this a few times yesterday. It is going to come in 5 minutes, but it's going to be very fast. So just contact me if you want any more detail. Right, here we go. Letterboxd. It's a way of, since this is a conversation around acknowledgements and receipts, it's a way of generating acknowledgements and receipts and other kinds of letters straight out of NXT. It's all built with NXT. It's got everything you need. So first of all, this is going to be fast. Templates. Right, so it's got a template editor built right in. So I'll show you the template editor. So the template editor has all of the formatting that you'd expect to be able to build a template that basically looks exactly the way you want it to be on brand for your organization, etc. You can put images in, you can maybe put a signature down the bottom, and then to actually put in the fields that are going to fill in with details from your database. You've got a whole bunch of constituent fields you can use, you've got a whole bunch of gift fields you can use. So you build your template, you make it look exactly the way you want, and then of course you want to send some letters. So 2 ways to send letters. First of all, bulk letters. This is like the standard, like maybe weekly process you got. So you can either go to a constituent list or a gift list. You select your list. If I change it to gift, you can either download it or email it. We have a premium version. I'll talk about that right at the end. And then you've got all these options here for how it will automatically record what you've done. So it marks it as acknowledged. If you generate receipt numbers, it marks it as receipted. You've got some constituent actions. And if you're on a premium plan, you've got things like soft credits and tributes you can add as well. So basically you do all of that, tell it what to do, and then you click create, and then it doesn't actually send anything. It's a deliberately 2-step process. So what happens then is you go into your run, and here we go. And it's deliberately 2-step process because what you can do when you go into it, either yourself or somebody else who maybe knows these people better, can either, should definitely check what's going to go out. But also the cool thing you can do is you can add, and this is what Henry was talking about earlier, you can add an individual note to any one or more of the letters, and you actually get the whole of the editor up for you. So you could like completely reformat the letter and add the images or whatever you want to do. Typically though, somebody will like write, happy birthday or something. So you do that, and when you're ready, if it's an email batch, you'll click send, and then it will send them directly to your supporters. If it's download, bulk letter run, it will create one PDF with all the people in. All right, at which point I would pause for questions, but this is the 5-minute tool. So we're going to carry right on. A few more things to show. Basically, there are, let me show you this. Hang on, you'll like this. So the other way you can send letters is directly on the gift or directly on the constituent page. So there's a tile on there. Same thing. You can either download it or email it. Choose the template you want to use. And then you've got the same actions you had before. And the cool thing is also here, you can edit before you send it. We even have some people who have like a very generic letter and then they send all of their letters straight out of that box. All right. So that's sending them. That's all included in the free forever version. Oh, hang on, I need to share this tab ahead instead. There you go. There's what I was showing you just now. Right, back to the main thing. Okay, a few more things to show you. In the premium version, you get a few extra things like advanced features. So you get conditional templates. So conditional templates are where you want to do one run in the week, and you want to, different people should get different templates according to, and I saw this in the chat, according to like criteria. So basically you can put in as many conditions as you like. It will run through your list of people who need an acknowledgement or a receipt, and according to your conditions, it will pick the right template for you. A massive time saver. All right, another template type to show you is giving summaries, which makes like end of financial, or it could be any period, but it's typically used for end of financial year. So it puts all of the gifts for a particular constituent on the same letter, and what you end up with is something like this. And of course, like all the others, it looks exactly the way you want it. All right, 2 more things to show you in 20 seconds. Easy. All right, auto send letters. This is a way, in addition to sending a bulk run, you can also automatically send a letter when either a constituent's added or a gift is added. Obvious things to do here, a welcome letter, or if somebody gives over a certain amount or even under a certain amount, so you could just automatically send the ones that maybe don't need as much personal touch. And the final thing to show you is scheduled letters. As opposed to the bulk letter run, oh, hang on, I'm on the wrong tab. Here we go. That's better. This is scheduled letters. So as opposed to the bulk letter run, which is deliberately interactive, this is deliberately you. If you never change it, you can just run it in the background and it'll do all the work for you. So the same way as you do a bulk letter run, except you can run it daily, weekly, or monthly. Daily would be awesome for sending automatic birthday letters to people, and then weekly or monthly would be something like a pledge run or something similar. All right, I didn't quite make 5 minutes, but there you go. That's Letterbox in nearly 5 minutes. I'm very happy to catch up at any point to answer any more detailed questions that you have.
Yeah, we'll round down, Stu. We'll round down to 5 minutes. That was perfect. Went through very fast. Please continue asking the questions in the chat. We have a couple more slides to go through, and we'll send you Stu and Henrietta's contact information if you wanted to follow up about any specific product questions as it relates to your organization. But Stu, thank you very much. I will say I've been using Letterbox, I think, for just about 3 years now in different capacities. One of the things I love about it is that it feels very integrated into Razor's Edge. I made a comment on someone's question in the chat. When you connect Letterbox to Razor's Edge, it just kind of shows up and you can start using it from Razor's Edge. You don't have any outside application that you need to download or run or learn. It just shows up as a tile on a constituent record, a tile on a gift record. You can, if you open up a constituent record and you want to merge a letter to that constituent, you just kind of hit the drop down and hit create. You can print out the PDF. You can send an email. It's awesome. So,
thanks, Kevin.
Cool. Yeah. Another slide from you all. If you guys want to talk about any of the other products that you have available for Razor's Edge or anything maybe coming down in the future.
Henrietta?
Stu or Henrietta? Oh, no, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, muted. Classic error. Yeah, so Stu, do you want to talk about bulletin board?
Yeah, hang on. So those are our three main apps. Do you know about Letterbox? Marketing Connect that allows you to connect something like MailChimp or Campaign Monitor, something or HubSpot, and it just like Letterbox, it becomes part of Razor Edge. It becomes a native part of Razor Edge rather than a separate thing. So an engagement tile does the same. It creates scores for other people. Now, there's a good chance we're very excited about this. So this is in beta, but we're just about to release this new app. It's a bulletin board app. It's going to be free, and it's a way of getting information out to your people, basically. So if you're an admin, you can create posts. It could be around all the change that's happening at Razor's Edge at the moment, whatever it is. It could be a picnic in the park, whatever you want to do. You can put bulletins on this board. It's a way, and they appear on the homepage, which is hopefully where everybody lives. So it's great. It's free, and if you want to get on the beta, then we've got some details for you later.
Yeah, and those would be internal announcements, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for your organization.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. I do want to also point out up here at the top, there is a discount code for those of you who are here with us today. So if you wanted to sign up for the paid version of Letterbox, you get a 20% off of your subscription. It ends May 23rd. And free for updating. So your pricing is updating May 19th. Is that correct, Henrietta?
Yes,
is that what
that's
this says?
correct. Yeah. And if you do want that, I think Kevin's going to send out how to get that, how to apply that coupon after this. Yeah.
I will. I will do that.
Couple chat questions that I would like you guys to answer. Kevin and I caught most of them, I think.
Good timing.
Yeah. Can Letterbox do a monthly donor receivable statement? I would assume so with your giving statements too, but I wanted you to answer that, not me.
See, the thing is, I don't know what a monthly donor receivable statement is.
Pledge
Okay.
payments.
Yeah, like pledge payments.
So tell me what it is, and I suspect yes.
So you can, but so yeah, you can filter on gift type, right? So we want to look at all the pay gift types. I think whoever asked that, if that is that what you mean by pledge by receivables, is that pledge payments?
Yes, Randy, if you can. Oh, and while Randy's getting that to us in chat, Steve asked if the auto letters can be sent to cell phones. I'm assuming you mean, or can it send texts? So Steve, can you clarify that? And I'll let you go come back to Randy.
Yeah, so Randy, so pledge payments is what he's asking about. So Stu, you can do your receipts based off of gift type.
Yes. So a bulk letter run would be, and any of the runs is based off a list. So you put criteria in as to what to send it to, and so it's down to what you can filter to. And we do have a specific, if it's around pledges, there's a specific pledge schedule template type which lists out a whole bunch of details, which is typically sent out monthly, but it's got a whole bunch of like your future payments, your past payments, etc.
Cool. And then do you have a text messaging feature?
No. That's a great idea. I mean, you can send it to a cell phone, as in, you can get email on your cell phone. Not at the moment, but yeah, watch this space.
Maybe if we do this webinar again in a year, the answer will be different.
What's that?
Right.
So maybe if we do the webinar again in a year, the answer will be different.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
going to remain enigmatic on that one.
I know we've got to wrap up a bit with some things coming up for us, but one last question. I think there's probably a yes or no answer. Can you send pledge reminders out of Letterbox?
Yes.
Okay, great. I know you all probably still have more questions, and we'll definitely make sure that you can connect with Stu and Henrietta directly to ask them about those. Kevin, I'll let you give our brief update of our upcoming events and take it from there.
Yeah, so we have some things coming up very quickly, actually. You'll see AFPICon is coming up. Christine and I both leave on Saturday. So if you're going to be there, please stop by our booth or find us roaming around the exhibit hall. We have special gifts for you. So please stop by their booth and say hello. Our next we have our Financial Edge Level Up webinar posted here because it's about integrating Razor's Edge and Financial Edge. So please, if you do gift entry and posting from RE to FE and you have any questions, please plan on attending us for attending next month's Financial Edge Level Up webinar, because I think you'll find it interesting. And then we have we're going back to our Ask Us Anything for the last week of May for the next Razor's Edge webinar. I put the QR code there. That links to our event page on our website. All the registration information can all be found there. It'll also be included in the slide deck. But we have some other things that we have coming up not highlighted here on our events page. So please make sure you check that out. We love to have this as this webinar as being a kind of a thought leadership thing where we're not necessarily trying to sell you anything, but just kind of giving you some ideas about what's available, best practices, and what other organizations are doing. But I do want to mention that we do have consultants on Razor's Edge and Financial Edge that do a lot of the things you see here on the screen. So we have some do database assessments. We do a lot of training, both virtual and on site. And then we just kind of sell buckets of hours to do whatever it is that you need help with. Either you don't have time to do it or you don't know how to do it. We have experts that know how to do it for you. So if you have any interest about our services, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Respond to that email I send you tomorrow. And I would love to schedule a time to chat with you. And I think that's it. I'm going to skip our last poll question because I just asked if you're ready to schedule a call today. Please let me know. And here's our contact information. If there's a topic that you want addressed on a future Level Up webinar, please let myself or Christine know. We want to make sure we're providing content that's beneficial for the community. So we're happy to take ideas about what to present on. And I think that's it. Henrietta, Stu, thank you guys very much for joining us. You guys, it was so much fun. That 45 minutes flew by. Any parting words?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thank you all for coming. what you may not realize is how much work Christine and Kevin put into this. We now realize because we got involved in the process. So you guys are very fortunate to have them like hosting this every month. So thanks for having us. You do an amazing job.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait to see you guys in Seattle next week.
Yes.
Teresa, we will get you Stu's email address and Henrietta's in the follow-up email, just so everyone has it.
Cool.
Great.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
y'all.
you
We'll
all.
see you. We'll see you next month.